Hello, everyone. Chuckles here. Day three. Is it day three?
Yes.
Yes, day three of the market.
Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. It's
Yes, okay. Day three. It just feels like it's been forever already. Every day you attend the AFM feels like a year. Not really, but it's a lot. Yesterday was the busiest day, but today was definitely a close second, and it kind of feels like it was more just because we were having we spent a lot of time in the Fairmont, the Fairmont Hotel, which is where they have most of the major conferences. Both financial conferences are there. We had Financial Conference 1 this morning, followed by a meeting, followed by the, let me get this right, Engage Symposium. 21st Century Cine Art as Industry. And that was a long thing. It went from 2:30 in the afternoon until 6 o'clock, and we left at 6:30, right?
Yeah, like 6:40 more like.
Yeah. We were talking to several people afterwards, hanging around the buffet. One thing I like about the conferences at the Fairmont is that they have food, snack food, but it's food available, breakfast, pastries, and whatnot in the morning. At the end of the symposium, they had a bunch of bread and cheese and crackers and fruit. Very nice. Friday night food, as our family calls it. So that was great. That was fun. The last segment of that was definitely more for Spencer than it was for me, but that was really cool.
Yeah, I wish I'd gotten the chance to talk to those actors, but by the time I got out there, they'd already made their greetings and gone.
Yeah, that's what they do with the panelists. They shuffle them out quickly so they don't have a lot of people coming up to them and
to get them away from people like me.
Yes, exactly. In fact, come over here because we both should talk about this.
Got my company shirt on today.
Yes. So the financial conference, there was a lot of interesting information. The panel was, actually I haven't written down there either. Tim League, who is the head of the Alamo Draft House, which I know from being a fan of what is now Double Toasted, but was Spill.com.
Oh, yeah.
Nowadays they do movie reviews and media discussion and things like that. And they're based in Austin, Texas. So I learned all from them, and listening to their podcasts, I learned about Whataburger and the Alamo Draft House and all kinds of stuff like that. So the head of the Alamo Draft House was there, and Eric Feig, the head of Picture Start, Aaron Levitz, the head of Wattpad, which I was amazed at. Like, Wattpad, okay, I guess they're respectable, I guess, enough to be at the AFM at least, and Christian Parks of Neon Production Company. And that was a really interesting discussion about the changing landscape and the way that films are financed these days. And the biggest takeaway that I had was that there's kind of a disagreement on how people perceive the encroaching digital landscape.
Yeah.
Christian Parks was more on the side of like, I really don't like all this stuff that's all about like the data and all about the fine tuning what the basically sort of building things by committee because the audience likes the Wattpad guy was talking about like, oh, on Wattpad the audience can look at this chapter and say I like this or I don't like this, and we can change the story based on that, and like crafting things that way and dealing with all the digital what's the word?
Engagement, algorithm, is that the word you're looking for?
The digital paths of distribution. It's harder to get content out there that is original. At least content out there that is, technically speaking, I keep going back to Wattpad because the guy, Aaron Levitz, he had a lot to say about this being like that's kind of the centerpiece of how this whole thing works, because it's kind of exemplified with their brand. And I didn't know that they would actually do. I knew that After, and I think The Kissing Booth is another one, and films like that are based on Wattpad stories. I did not know that they actually have a movie division. But even though the stories are oftentimes derivative because they are derivative of popular works in that they are fan fiction, and then they are cultivated by fans of certain books that are like, oh, let's make craft a fan fiction around this, and then the community on Wattpad comes together and says, yeah, this, and then that's how those things come to be. And so you could say that those are original, but in terms of like what Christian Parks was saying, the head of Neon, he was saying that this makes it harder for something that is wholly original that comes from that there is no built-in audience. That Eric Feig calls it the preheated oven.
Right.
The preheated oven of like, and this is, he wasn't just talking about Wattpad, because again, Aaron Levitz's Wattpad, Eric Feig is Picture Start, and Eric Feig was talking about adaptations. So, which is not exactly what Wattpad does, because they're sort of adaptations, but it's fan fiction and then turned into a movie. Whereas Eric Feig is just talking about just straight up novels and things like that are then adapted. And so they're all talking about this. The audience is already there because this is a story that has existed in one form already. Meanwhile, Christian Parks is the producer of not the producer, right? Of Parasite. So Parasite, filmed by John Woo-bong, famous Korean director.
And they kept referring to the Bong Hive.
Yes, the Bong Hive. Neon is what brought this movie, Parasite, to it's the distribution company basically. And so he was saying that like Parasite, here's a film that the director is well known, and so that's what really got people excited about the film. But Parasite is a brand new, original story with no, again, built-in audience. Like, well, people know Joon-ho Bong. People know Joon-ho Bong, and he's again one of the most famous directors in Korea. So obviously, there you go. But not a built-in audience in terms of this story existed already. And so the audience is ravenous for this story again in a new form, like you have on Wattpad or on other adaptations of novels. No, it's a original story that is a passion project from this director. And Christian Parks was saying, like, man, it's terrifying now because that is the most difficult thing to do now. Because if you don't have a built-in audience, because your story is wholly original and that comes from you, especially if you are a new filmmaker, this increased landscape, this increased digital landscape is not doing a whole lot to help you. If you are the kind of filmmaker who wants to do an adaptation or is a member of one of these companies and is doing something like that, then great. But if you're a brand new filmmaker who's trying to make something brand new, then And there was a bit of they didn't actually have a debate. They were all very, congenial, and they all agreed on a lot of things about how you still need to build the audience and, all that kind of thing. But they were talking about how it's definitely difficult when you have something that is, and you need to focus on something that is made for the audience and not yourself, because that is the key to filmmaking as commerce. You need to make sure that you are pleasing your audience. And so then the way that they phrased that was like, it's not for you, it's for the audience. But then at the same time, you still want to bring your unique vision out there. And so that was a really enlightening discussion with a lot of good information in it. And I will be going into more detail about that in the upcoming vlog. But so we then had a meeting, we went all the way back to the Lowe's.
Yeah.
Because it's a 10 to 15 minutes, depending on traffic, and then about 10 to 15 minutes walk. So it just depends on whether or not you have the stamina from the Lowe's Hotel to the Fairmont. So we went all the way back there. We met with another production company that I was talking to on my AFM, who was like, might be able to talk to him about something. And we had a nice discussion, but he's not going to be able to help out with...
He said, the most I can do for you is pass your info off to somebody else who might help you.
Which is good, of course, because we're getting all kind of stuff like that as well, like talking to people who are going to... And sharing business cards and stuff, that's what you do, is to get the information out there.
And I learned I really need to make my own business cards.
Mm-hmm.
I've been handing out Afro Pictures business cards, which is great, but I don't have any for me.
Yes. Especially since he got to meet some actors.
Yeah.
At this. So first, and again, I will be going into more detail on this because I need to not spend... Again, all these videos are going to be not very long because this time around at the AFM, I have a lot of other things to do and a lot of emails to write. In fact, I just got an email from Miyuki saying, hey, here's an A-list Japanese actor. You need to send him an invitation letter to be in your film. I was like, okay, let's do this. So I'm going to be working on that. But first of all, the Engage Symposium, there were several sections. So the first one was keynote conversation celebrating the legacy of John Singleton. Of course, the director of Boys in the Hood and lots of others. And so he had, they had Steve what she called it Nicolaides, but his name looks like Nicolaides.
Nicolaides.
Steve Nicolaides, producer, executive producer, production manager on Boys in the Hood, Stand By Me, and a bunch of others. I mean, he's big time. And then Stephanie Elaine, who is
John Singleton's mother.
Yeah, well, no, Sheila Morgan Ward is John Singleton's mother, so she was up there as well. And so they were talking about, it was basically all about his life and talking about him. And again, I'm going to go into more detail, but it was all about John Singleton and how his films have been influential, and the filmmakers and the African American community and all these things that owe their success and or exposure and or societal change to him and his films.
Yeah, like he was saying that the conversation started by Boys in the Hood was the very first seeds of Black Lives Matter, because that was when it actually put faces and names to the people that you constantly heard about on the news of Crips and Bloods shooting each other, and it was just oh, what do you know, more murder, what are they doing, why can't they stop, what's wrong with these people in this community.
Yes.
But then you actually see it's not just random. You see a personal story about this is this person's name, this is what happened to they had a scholarship, they were going to do this, but then this happened to someone they loved, and this happened to them, and even if what they did in response was wrong, you can understand the reason for it, and it made it more empathetic, more personal, more real to people who weren't actually living it.
Yes. So that was what the discussion was all about his legacy. And at the end of that discussion, and his mother had a lot of cool things to say, and she mentioned a lot of the places that they lived. She mentioned addresses specifically all the time, because I guess those places are now being ransacked in a way for all of his stuff that's going to now be put at USC and put in museums, and places are being boarded up now. So she was talking about all that.
And wasn't it Pepperdine?
Yes. And so that was great. And then at the end of that, they gave out awards that they are now christening for the very first time. There was 4 awards. I forgot what each of them were.
Not just 2 of them. There were 3 total trophies, but only 2 different awards.
Okay.
So the big award handed to his mother, and a smaller in size award. I think it was called the Legacy Award, handed to Nicolaides.
Yes.
I think it's Greek.
And so that was the first award, and they were saying it's for him, and therefore they're giving it to his mother. And then from now on, these I guess they're going to do this every year, and from now on, those awards will be handed out to other people. So that was that, and then we had a break, and then we went to operations, 21st century storytelling and entrepreneurship, and that was a bunch of 3 financiers, filmmaking filmmaking financiers and heads of departments. Krista Zofkin-Workman, who was
I get my phone stopped from doing that.
who was in charge of River Road Entertainment. Quincy Newell, founder and president of 2114, and India. Oh, India.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that's what I thought it was, just India spelled like India, but no, it's Endya.
Of course.
Kenny Stearns, founder and chief executive officer, EKS consulting firm. So the three of them were talking all about their experiences being entrepreneurs, their experiences with film financing, their experiences with wanting to work with indie filmmakers and wanting to get fresh voices and faces and diverse voices out there. This panel was all about diversity as well and inclusiveness. And so that was a really good panel as well. And then the most lively panel was the last one, which was all about actors. And it was called Longevity, 21st Century Creatives. And so that was three older actors, as Aunt Shirley calls them, seasoned. That's what I don't know if you've ever heard her say that, but...
Possibly.
Seasoned actors, Glenn Turman, Ellen Crawford, and Mike Genovese. And so they were talking all about their experiences, their life as actors, the roles that they've been in. And it was again, this is more for Spencer. I don't know if you can give some highlights from...
I don't take... maybe I should have, but like most of it just sort of resonated, so I didn't take too many notes. But yeah, they were talking about how, just like what keeps you in the business, why you start, and why you keep going, and what, leads to the passion for having such a long career.
Yeah, they've all been doing it forever, and they're still going.
Yeah. Let's see, who was it? Glenn in particular was saying that, he's been in the business for 60 years. And he said that right now is the time of his life because I love what he said. He said, I'm getting all the old man money on the table.
I'm everybody's dad. I'm everybody's uncle. Yeah, I'm the best dyer you ever did see.
Yeah, so they were all talking about how, like, this is the sort of thing that was happening when we first started out. What they talked about a lot was they sort of miss the community that was here when they were first starting out, because it used to be that you would, meeting people face to face was the way you got jobs. That was how the business worked, and that is still very important, but it's not as automatic, really, because it used to be, you would get, you had to get an agent, and the agent would say, okay, you're going to be in this thing tomorrow. You don't even need to audition. You've just got you in. That doesn't happen anymore. Mm-hmm. And you need to, networking isn't something that just happens the way it used to, because everybody, partly it's socially because we have all become, so deeply entrenched in, social media and our devices, but also because casting itself has become more procedural, more algorithmic, more automatic, more digital. Like, instead of having, everybody come into your office and hand you their headshot, you have, I think it was Ellen Crawford, who said, instead of that, you now have 1,000 thumbnails on your page and just clicking through them, as fast as you can. So it's harder to get noticed, harder to build a personal, network for yourself, harder to maintain a, social foundation for yourself so that you can keep yourself sane, basically. And so that you can, they talked about the importance of having something other than this job that matters to you, something other than acting that will keep you going, that you're good at, that you enjoy. Because if this is the only thing you do, then it's going to destroy you, because the machine, the system, the town is really good at just processing you. And if you let it, it will just run you over, run straight through you, run through you like X-Lax is the way Glenn put it.
Yeah, Glenn Turman has a lot of colorful phrases.
Oh yeah,
he's very. I don't know what the word is. If there's a term for like having a lot of like just phrases and like really colloquial things to
Folksy.
say. I guess so. Yeah.
Yeah, he had. Yeah, he was the star of the show, honestly. And a lot of the times they would say like, oh yeah, what he said, and then this. Mm-hmm. The third guy, Mike Genovese,
who is married to. They
yes.
made it a point of saying we're married.
Yeah. He didn't talk that much, and because he isn't, I don't think, used to being without a script. So he did piggyback off of what, like, he would say, okay, piggybacking off of what they said, and then he would, and he was very folksy in a different way. Like, he would, like, slap his knee and stomp his foot whenever a joke came by. One
of the things that he did very eloquently say, though, was that these days, because Glenn Turman was saying how it's like, this is the best time of my life now, and Mike Genovese was saying something similar to where it's like, nowadays, because he doesn't have to worry about supporting a family.
Right.
He doesn't have to worry about the money so much. He's like, I've been doing this for so long. I've built up my money, built up my career. I'm good. So now he only does things that he enjoys. He only takes on roles that he wants to do. But that when he was starting out, it still was, even though he, as they were talking about, sometimes you have to say yes.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah, you always can say no, but it's not always a good idea.
Depends on whether you want to eat that.
Yeah. How late are you on rent?
But he was saying that right now he's doing what he now can mostly focus on what he really wants to do. Yeah. And if sometimes that means just not working for a long period of time, then so be it, because there's nothing that really appeals to him. Yeah,
and he made a big point about it being with the people that you just really want to work with, because by the time, both he and the people he has known in the industry have been here for long enough, they have built a very specific kind of net around themselves, saying, okay, I like working with this person and this person and this person. This is a really good director. This is a good editor. This is a good screenwriter. And, I know that these people are good to work with and that they do good work. So those are the kinds of people that you want to have and that you want to be. Another point that Ellen made was, be the person that you want to work with.
Yes.
So if you are going, and then, Glenn broke in with, when you are coming onto set at, 6 or 7 in the morning when nobody wants to be awake, it can be tempting to be, grumbling and complaining, but that is just going to set the precedent for the whole day, and no one's going to have a good time. No one's going to want to be around anybody.
It's going to sap the creative juice, as he said.
So he said, make it a point to get the day off right when you're, talking to the teamster who's driving you to set, and with the makeup people who are dealing with everybody on set, and just be enjoyable to be around, be the person who is steady and calming, and the person that you need at the times when you are having a bad day.
Mm-hmm. So that was, again, very enlightening and very fun and very informative and inspiring. And then the head, the lady who puts all this together, whose name is Dr. Joy Carr. She was the one who said that, okay, so everyone, we're done now. There's a buffet outside. Go eat.
Yeah. We got lots of snacks. Make sure you eat them.
Yes.
And talk to each other. I want to see everybody talking to each other.
And so we did. I met a guy who's into J-horror like I am, and who also is doing a similar thing that I'm doing with a American co-production with a different country. With him, it's Guatemala, but it's a horror-style movie as well. And so we talked about our different projects, and he said he was going to get my information out there and see if anyone was interested. and met a couple of actresses and some other various people. You were talking to quite a few people.
Not particularly. I was talking to mostly people who weren't even in the industry. It ended up they were like alumni of Pepperdine, who were the ones behind this whole thing. So yeah, I didn't. I got to. I got to shout out my YouTube channel to one person, so that was okay. And I wrote my info on an actress's because I don't have my own business card, so I just wrote it on the back of hers.
Yes, Mika.
Yeah, and I'm not that good at networking, honestly. Because I'm not a fan of crowds is the big thing. Like when it was, I got to the end of the buffet. That's where the whole cluster was. So I just sort of stood there. And that's when I bumped into, the first lady I talked to, Regina, and, we just sort of, I don't know when to break off a conversation, and I feel rude walking away, and then I just start feeling tired and overwhelmed if I'm standing around too many people for too long, so I kind of just walked over into the corner by the empty hall, and was like, okay, just let me stay over here for a second where it's quieter.
See, I'm the exact same way, but
You've gotten more used to it.
Yes,
now.
I've gotten more practice, and I put myself in there because I have to.
Yeah.
And so it's so I've gotten a lot better at schmoozing.
Yeah, I'm not very good at schmoozing yet.
David Hamilton, he was very when we went to because I told you about that. Well, you saw on Facebook when we went to that log cabin.
Yeah.
He was like, "Whoa, Charles, you're really good at schmoozing." I was like, I just keep forcing myself to do it. I don't think that I'm that good, but I'm, getting more practice. So that was the event. That was the night. And like I said, now I'm going to get back into emailing and that kind of thing. Is there anything else that you observed about the conferences, the finance conference, anything else?
They spent time talking about competition, like how, not only are all the different, studios in competition with each other, not only are the different platforms in competition with each other, not only are the different media in competition with each other, it's all also completely different ideas, also completely different, category, gaming is the biggest, he said gaming was the biggest competition to cinema.
Which I already knew, but it was nice to hear someone
that they are aware
confirm that.
Yeah, because he was talking about how our generation and younger are playing video games much more than they are watching movies, especially more than they are going to the cinema. They made a big deal about that. How even though it is still it does still exist. Like people still go to concerts, people still go to movie theaters, but it is not nearly the ubiquitous event that it used to be, and you need to make it, special in a way. You need to make it a quality that makes you say that, okay, this is worth getting out of the house to go to, because you can get so many different things in so many different ways without going anywhere.
Well, it was funny because they were talking, again, Christian Parks, the guy who was he was like, I don't want to be doom and gloom for the room, but he was kind of that way, although I kind of a lot agreed with him. But he was talking about how don't worry guys, we're not there yet, but we're kind of on the cusp of becoming like the music industry, and that having this big crash because everything is going to be broken up. And the other guys on the panel was like, well, that's the way it is, and you know what, the music industry is doing just fine.
Because they figured it out after going through some problems.
But the thing is, they were saying nowadays people are realizing that, you just need to put on concerts. People are going to concerts and spending money. And I'm like, point of contention, even though you are right, but also kind of not, because they were, concerts were how musicians made their money back in the day when there was a music industry. Because albums were what made, and this is even though people decry the end of the music industry and how things are much in the same way that we were talking about, you don't get a whole lot. It's more diversified, but at the same time you don't get those big stars that you used to. But one of the good things that came from the music industry's destruction as it was is that concerts and merchandise were, as they still are, how musicians made their money, because album sales went to the record companies. That was the whole big thing. It's like they were the ones making the money off of the backs of the musicians actually doing the work.
You got like 10 cents or less per album.
Yeah. So, like you said, we're not quite there yet.
Yeah.
But may possibly be heading there, which is scary.
Yeah, and at the end they asked for predictions of what's going to happen in the next 10 years, and somebody said something about that they think it's going to end up like that streaming is going to end up like cable, because right now you've got it splitting off into so many different directions. Something's got to give, because everything everything was on Netflix, but now Disney's pulling all their stuff out, and I don't know if it's Fox or whoever, and then everybody's getting their own bespoke platforms.
I think it was Tim League who was saying, I am subscribed to every subscription platform that there is, which means I am now paying exponentially more than I ever paid for cable.
Yeah.
Ironically.
Yeah, now they were saying that maybe it'll end up like cable in that you'll have a bundle of streaming services, like you get bundles of cable channels.
Cyclical is what they were saying. It's all cyclical. It's coming back around.
Yeah. And one thing I wanted, this is kind of a side note, one thing I wanted to bring up when they asked for questions, but we had to leave, was when they mentioned, video games. I've noticed, and through other people who've pointed it out as well, that in both, it's an interesting parallel in both games and movies. It feels to me like middle tier is disappearing. Like there's a giant rift widening between the mega budget, planet buster. It's not even a blockbuster anymore. It has to be a planet buster. When you talk about the budget in terms of fractions of a billion, and then, people like us, basically, asking for, single or maybe double digits and trying to get, in millions or even but it's either the massive, worldwide, juggernauts, or it's, little independent and just getting by.
That is how it is in the gaming industry.
Yeah, and I wanted to know what they thought of that, if it looks the same from the top as it does from the bottom. And I, because at one point they did mention somebody who started on YouTube making a commercial for like Hyundai. And now she's that got her an official job with them, and now she's getting $1 million to work on a movie. And so that made me think, $1 million is nothing in Hollywood, and it seems like it's either nothing or everything now.
Yeah.
Like they don't have just the moderate, there's no moderate risk and moderate reward. It's either tiny, barely noticeable to the studio's risk, so that they don't even care if it performs or not, or it's the all-in marketing blitz, appeal to China in every possible way, has to make all the money on the planet, or we're going broke this quarter. And it feels like there is no comfortable the middle class is disappearing, like that same story all over again.
I think they probably would have said that what they are doing will eventually become the middle class, basically. It doesn't look like that right now, but that's probably what they would think it was going to be. Of course, on the way there, we met...
yes.
John Binky Elder, and his son, and their production partner, who are working on various and sundry things. He's an author and a documentary filmmaker, and they were fun to talk to. Especially
they're going to make a liquor based on his book.
Yes.
It sounds really cool. It's Sierra Diablo, the Devil's Mountain liquor. It's like, ooh, that sounds fun. I want to try that.
And their production partner is a Hispanic gentleman who is working on a documentary. We were talking to each other about collaborating and about working on things. So, and then is there anyone else that you met?
Not really. Like I said, I talked to a couple of alumni from Pepperdine, and And, briefly ran into another actor, but we didn't really say much because he didn't have a business card either.
Nah. We also got to see there was a panel starring the two executives behind the Angel Has Fallen.
Oh yeah,
the Has Fallen trilogy.
Yeah.
That they are hoping to make into a ongoing series, not beyond the trilogy, which I didn't know.
Yeah, so like somebody he was saying something about. I was like, okay, we blew up the White House.
Yes.
We blew up London. Now we're blowing up this man's life, which is what the new one is about. So what are they going to blow up next?
Yes. So that was an interesting discussion because it's like the executive behind the company and then Gerard Butler's personal assistant and friend. So yeah, this was a jam-packed day, mostly spent in one building, but it was lots of good stuff. And tomorrow, Spencer has...
I have a meeting with a dub and sub company in the morning, and then I have a shoot for Amazon. It's industrial. It's a training video series that they're just to train their own executives on their way up, basically. To see, like, how do you handle these different situations? And I probably shouldn't say any more than that.
Mm-hmm. And so, while he's doing that, I'm going to be going to several things. The pitch conference. Well, I have a meeting in the morning with a media services, one of the guys from media services, who are the people providing the financial conferences.
Oh, yeah. There's we got the metal straws from.
Yes.
Oh, yeah, and I got this neat keychain flashlight.
I've never had a metal straw before, but now I do, and it's a fancy one because it comes complete with a cleaner.
Mm-hmm. And I lucked out that I got that because I have a metal travel cup. And I lost the straw that came with it, so yay! I now have a new straw.
So I'm meeting with a media services guy, right at 9 because we're both going to be attending the pitch conference. So we're basically just going to meet with each other right before the pitch conference happens there at the Fairmont. We're probably going to meet over those breakfast pastries
Nice.
Right before we go in, and then the pitch conference, and then I'm going to be meeting with someone from A-List Entertainment. Then I'm going to be going to the Palisade stage at the Lowe's, so it's going to be back at the Lowe's. Audiences Want More, bringing diverse projects to the marketplace in partnership with Reframe. So that's a big title for that. And then I'm going to be meeting with Kei Fujita, Kayoko/Kei Fujita, from Filmination. I always want to say Funimation, but no, it's Filmination. We met her actually yesterday while we were walking around with Miyuki because she knows Miyuki because Miyuki knows all these people.
Yes,
again, which
Miyuki
is great.
knows everybody.
Which is great. So we met her early, even though I independently, when I didn't even know that she knew Miyuki, I was like, ooh, I need to talk to this person.
And it's like she ran into both of you at the same time. She's like, oh, hey, how's it going? Oh, hey, how's it going? Yes. Oh, wait, you know each other?
Yes.
Holy crap.
So, and unfortunately, of course, Miyuki could only be here for one day. So I'll be meeting with her, though, after the fact now, meeting with her specifically. And that'll be it for that day. And then tomorrow, speaking of Miyuki, we're both going to be going to, in fact, I don't think we'll be able to go to the morning on Sunday. I don't think we'll be able to go to the second financial conference because it ends at 12:45. And we need to be at, Miyuki told me, like, you need to come here at 1. Just be here an hour early for the screening of her documentary, Hanari Geisha Modern, because she invited us as VIP guests. So we're going to be meeting a whole bunch of people at the AWFF, the Asian World Film Festival.
And then what about Carousel tomorrow night? Are we doing that or not?
Yes. The Carousel, because we're not going to spend the entire time at that premiere, because that's going to be at 2 o'clock, from 2 to 4. And then we still, Miyuki is right now seeing, like, if it's possible for us for her to invite us to the final night. Because if so, then that would be something we need to talk about.
Yeah, we need to rearrange our travel plans.
Yeah. So that's it for tonight. I'm going to get back into it and prepare for tomorrow. We're both going to prepare for tomorrow.
I need to get ready for my interview. I need to shave.
Mm-hmm. Good night to everyone, and we'll see you again on the next day.